week 5, we have finished our portion of electrical wiring for this semester, which is wiring 1 light bulb and 3 light bulbs in series and parallel. Keep that information with you. We'll use this wiring technique for next semester. I'm trying to develop some hard skills, manual skills, for things that we will need to use next semester and also for your field experience. So now we're doing pipe cutting and threading, and Bill did soldering, brazing, and what else? Swedging. We'll do that again because you will need to use that for oil as well and oil lines. I'm not going to do brazing, we'll do the other things. So the more you do it, the more experience you will gain. And we'll do pipe cutting and threading. I'll show you how to bleed and test the pump. We'll do some igniter work for combustion. We will do motor assembly and disassembly. We'll take apart some equipment and put it back together. And we'll also have an entire oil burner taken apart and put together as part of the lab. So we're trying to develop your manual dexterity, how to deal with tools, what tools is appropriate to use. For this lab, we're doing pipe cutting and threading, and this is steel pipes. So in the beginning, what is plumbing? And why is it called plumbing? Does anybody know?
Moving around water.
Yeah, where does the word plumbing come from?
Latin.
Huh? Okay. Pluma, which is what? Yeah. Good. So in Spanish they call it pluma. Pluma is lead. So plum is lead in Latin. So that's what it's called plumbing. Why do they call piping plumbing then? They used to use pipe out of lead. So plumb, it's a symbol from the periodic table. Plumb from plumbing. And they used to make, it was easier to make pipe out of soft metal like lead. And is there any lead piping existing right now? What do you think?
Yes.
Did you hear about Flint, Michigan?
Yes.
Yeah, so there's a lot of pipes made out of lead. So that's why the idea of plumbing came about. We can make pipes out of clay, out of cement, out of copper, out of any material. So this is where it came from. How pipes are made, just some brief history about it so you have an idea how they used to make pipe. If you were in an island and you want to make a pipe, what are you going to do? Huh?
Extrude it.
How? You're in an island.
On an island?
Yeah, you have
It's
only
gonna
two
take
bars.
a long time, because I'm gonna be smelting for months.
Good? Yeah, you can make some pipe out of mud. What else are you going to do?
Like you said, bamboo or something.
Bamboo, you can hollow some tree trunk, right? Or what if you
All
have,
that together.
excellent, so you can get some tea leaves, something flat, and you wrap it together and make a pipe. So you can do that. If you look at some straws, some paper straws, and if you look closely, it's a one strip swirling around. So you can have one pipe, you can get a flat piece of metal or any material you want, and then you twist it around and tie it. And that's why you see some pipes in the past, and as you can see the seam in the middle. That's where you join the pipe together. And if you look at straws, look like that, and you see has yeah. So you get a piece of pipe and you twist it around. If you look at some duct work closely, it comes in a big strip, and you twist your own strip and you seam it together. So that's the way to make a pipe. For copper pipes, they get extruded, which means copper is very malleable. What does malleable mean? Soft, you can bend it, so you can heat it to a certain temperature, then you extrude it, like Tim was saying. You push through it with a certain speed, velocity, and you have thin walls out of it. What are they made of? Steel, zinc, carbon steel. We said clay, cement. Big, huge pipes are made out of cement. There are some pipes as big as a car. You can drive an SUV through it. Those like big pipes for water, and they're made out of cement. Yeah.
What are house pipes typically made of? They're not made out of lead or anything.
Not anymore, unless you have a really old house that has not been inspected, probably they have some lead. There's a lot of galvanized steel. Again, other combination of material. And that's why if you live in an old house, if you have not have your water tested, please double check. Yes, the water is tested from Springfield well or from the city well, but you don't know what does your plumbing look like. Is it dirty? Does it have a lot of rust? You see the water we have in the sink here? It's brown color and it's rust. And we used to drink that for the longest time. The water gets in the sink in here. These are all the old, never drink the water here. I think they put a sign finally. So you don't want to drink that water. It's not good for you. So again, they have to test the water all the time. And it doesn't have to do with anything with the Springfield water. It's just the plumbing we have in these old buildings. Issues with pipes. So as we said, there are issues with corrosion. What is corrosion?
Oxidation.
Oxidation. What is erosion?
Wears out.
Wears out. So what is the difference between corrosion and erosion?
They can be kind of doing the same thing at the same time, or one or the other.
Not really.
Corrosion is putting
Think.
deposits.
If you have to compare both, what would you say? You know
One's
which
a
one?
chemical reaction, and the other one's a physical reaction,
Excellent. One of them is chemical reaction, which is corrosion. Second one is a mechanical reaction. Something is chiseling into the material. That is corrosion and erosion. Buildup. So probably in power plant, you'll talk a lot about buildup. Buildup can be sediment, calcium, particles, rust. Rust will collect into one pipe and accumulate over time. The other issue is expansion and contraction. So that's something you have to think about. If you are to go for your plumbing license, you have to learn about that. Why? Because metals expands and contract rapidly. Why do we have to deal with that? The fittings, you might bend the pipe, it might crack, it might break where it's connected. That's why we use something called a swing joint between two tanks. If we have two tanks, even for oil, if you put a straight pipe, that's no good. Why? Because those two tanks are stuck to the floor, they're rigid, and you have either welded or a flange connection over here. So what happens in the summertime when it's really hot, even a few degrees, it will expand and go through and break your tank. And in the winter, they will contract. Even though if it's only 1 yard, there's significant expansion and contraction. We do not see it because it's very small, but it does have effect. If you notice in your car, if you look at your muffler, you notice that it's not stuck to the car and it's hanging freely. Why is that? It's going to contract and expand a lot. Otherwise, it will break. And if you look at where the muffler usually break, it's between the connections, between the exhaust or the catalytic converter and the pipe. Again, because of the rapid expansion and contraction. So you always want the muffler and pipe to be suspended. If you go watch some east-west pipelines, like pipelines that go from Dakotas to Texas, that's gonna be north and south. But you can get some north and east long pipelines, you will notice that the pipe does not go straight. Between every few yards, they will have a loop. I think around like 100 yards, you'll have a loop, bigger loop, and depending on the temperature. Why do we have those loops? Again, for the expansion and contraction. So here, we have something called swing joint, where you connect the tanks in such a way. So it will contract and expand. So for the big pipeline here, in the winter, it's cold. So what's going to happen to the metal? It will contract. So it will look like that. In the summertime, it will expand. So it will bend inward.
Oh, that much of a difference.
Yeah, you'll see it. You'll see it. So I used to work for a pipeline. I will drive along the pipeline and we will watch for the cracks and go and investigate that it's bending and contracting to the right.
They have one in Southwick, I think.
Huh? Yeah. Even underground, they have to account for the contraction and expansion for the pipes. So that's another issue you have to think about when you think of piping, and leave some space for it to make it very, very rigid, especially if you're working with galvanized steel, because it will expand a lot, and it's not that soft. It might break. The pipe itself will not break, it will break the connection with the other components. What else do I want to say about pipes? Expansion and contraction, material. Just to think about expansion and contraction. Whoever had to do some kind of ball bearing change in the car? Ball bearing?
Like wheel bearings?
Yeah, yeah.
Press for that.
So there's a press, and in some bigger machine, you have to heat some of the bearings to expand. If you get just 1,000 of an inch, that will be enough for you to pull it out. So heating and cooling is another way to do it. In some big mechanical shops, they have some tight fitting where there's no connection but just tightness. So one part gets heated up and one part will be frozen, and you put it together, they fit. After they reach the same temperature, they're completely clamped. So heating and cooling, even though for small parts, it does make a difference. So pipe information, that's something we have to think about. What do we have? First, the material. I would say copper is very soft. And what is the difference between copper and brass? Okay, what else? What color is brass? Usually yellowish. And what color is copper? Reddish. So you know that they added something to it, right? And what is that something? They add nickel to it and some other material to make it harder. So you don't see a copper faucet, you see a brass faucet. It's kind of yellowish to give it some kind of strength because copper is soft. So we have to pay attention to the material, especially when we're trying to do threading and connections. The connection has to be the same material and sometimes even harder, but it has to be compatible material. If it's too soft, it might break. The material will also give you the thread size, and it will give you the torque size. What is torque? Is the hoisting power that you can tie the pipe with before breaking the material. What is ID, OD, and T? Can somebody guess?
Inside diameter, outside diameter, and I'm not sure.
Thickness.
Thickness.
And it could be other symbol. I saw T as the most common. So pay attention to this a lot because we're gonna go to something called the nominal diameter. So this is the OD, this is ID, and this here is the thickness. And it matters a lot when you go to the shop and try to buy pipe. They will tell you, you say 3/4 pipe. Is this inside or outside? How do I measure that? So for steel, if you say 3/4 of an inch pipe, it's going to be the outside diameter. And why is that? It has to do with threading. Because you're gonna thread that pipe. If you have a threader that is set for 3/4 of an inch, you want the size to be constant. Nominal diameter, now it's what it's known for. So for steel pipes, usually, but not necessarily always, so when they say when you buy a 3/4 inch brass or copper, it's the inside. When it's steel, it's the outside. So that's something you have to think about. There's also connection between steel and brass, and it's meant for that. Tell you what size it connects to the other sides. We have also elbows, usually 90 degrees, 45, 180 return, which looks like 180. So that's an elbow, 90 elbow. 45, looks like that. And wait, it's a U. There are some connections as T's, caps, crosses. There is so many types of connection. For that connection, you have to know, again, the material, what does it connect to, and the size. And this is something we have to think about when we do hydronic sizing. Because you have to connect the water coming from the boiler all the way to the brass, to the radiators inside the room. Yeah.
What are like T's and caps?
These look like that.
Exactly what it says.
Cap, is it cap? Covers up.
This is a T. Something from here. Cross. Looks like
Cross.
I think there's a Y too. Y connection. So, plumbing is an art, and it's also a lot of fun. Plumbing is fun. I don't know, I find it fun, I don't know about you. But cutting the pipe and connecting the pipe, it's not a lot of art. You know when plumbing becomes really annoying?
You can deal with shit.
Yeah.
Literally, you're right, when you don't do the right measurement, you always have to measure twice, cut once. When you don't measure and you don't take the right clearances and you just go and cut and you come to connect things and whoops, it does not fit. That's when it becomes annoying and you have to redo everything. That's one thing. And plumbing new stuff is always not a problem, but plumbing dirty equipment or oils or sewers, that's not going to be fun at all. But installation for plumbing is really fun. It's they get paid a lot. Plumbers get paid $190,000 an hour, whether it's water or gas. Because again, techniques and how clean your plumbing is. Plumbing has to do a lot with support, pipe has weight, and it has to do also with how clean your piping is. You don't want pipe going up and down, and you also have to control the pitch. So if you made a good plumber, probably it's the personality usually is a calm person, take their time, and try to measure everything, and put it in paper. They order the part, they do the cuts, and everything at the end fits properly. And that's why plumbers have to be licensed and they go and get certified. More info. Flanges, what are flanges? So a flange, I'm trying to get you just familiar with the terminology. I'm sure there's more than I can think of. A flange is a connection to the pipe that enables to connect to another pipe with screws. If you were, of course, there's another face over there where you put two pipes together by pressing. You put a gasket in the middle and you connect them together. If you work in power plants, probably you're going to deal a lot with flanges. Flanges usually go for bigger pipes, more than 3 inches. If you think about it, you're not going to screw 4 inches pipe with a killer with a thread. That is not practical because you need a huge wrench and probably not going to get the proper tightness. So what you do, you get another flange over here, same size, and you put a gasket. That is appropriate to the material inside the pipe, so it will not react with it and leak eventually. And you torque these with bolts. You can take an entire week course to tell you how to tighten flanges. It's not that as simple as you think. Like, okay, who knows how to properly tighten a tire, a car tire? You just don't go one by one, right?
Star pattern.
Good, yeah, you go.
Depends on how many bugs.
And you didn't do it at once, you do it at least at 3 steps. Halfway, sometimes half a turn, and you keep going one by one. What the reason being is you don't want the flange, which think about it, the hub or the rims, kind of a flange that you want to set correctly on the rollers, otherwise it's not going to connect properly, and you might see the tire high-speed wobbles that can cause problems. So if you look at the Firestone, when they do the tires, they do it properly, back and forth, star pattern, and the same thing goes with big flanges. Bolting, there's a bolting procedure, and pressure rating. That is very important when it comes especially to steam and power plants. Each pipe has a pressure rating. Also, this is important for AC refrigerant line because there's a lot of pressure in it. The pressure is to withstand the high pressure points inside the pipe and also at the connection. So if you were to do some simple plumbing for your boiler, steam boiler or water boiler, you will have to do your own piping, at least to the water source. So always use a water level to know that you have the right pitch. If you're doing steam, we'll talk a lot about the pitch. If you have the wrong pitch, probably you will have a lot of issues. In January, you'll hear those steam pipes over here hammering the whole time, and that's because they don't have the right pitch. Pitch is how tilted the pipe is. Because we're going to have some liquid condensation, and you want to run at the right speed. If it runs too fast, it's gonna meet steam and cause a water hammer. If it runs too slow, again, it will accumulate and you'll have some water hammering. Always have a layout plan. What do you wanna cut? How long is it going to be? And also account for the connection and how far are they gonna go. Because if you put an elbow here, this elbow has length, probably sometime 1 inch, and you have to consider that as well here. 3 inches, for example. So you have to consider that. And that's why people usually, especially if you're new to plumbing, you're not going to consider some kind of distances that for the connections. Right type of connections and right tape or solution. We usually use Teflon for what? For water. There are tape for gas, there are tape for diesel, there are tape for all sort of products. So you make sure you have that connection, otherwise the pipe will leak. Consider the pressure inside the pipe. Some stuff might not leak at regular pressure, but as it gets pressurized, it will eventually leak. Water is heavy. 1 pound of water is around, how heavy is a gallon of water?
6 pounds or something?
8 pounds. 8 pounds, that's a lot. That's only 1 gallon. And pipe can hold a lot of water. So that weight needs to be supported. Otherwise, eventually it will buckle or it will come out of the support. So there are some general rules that we'll talk about and how often do you put clamps and support pipes. Again, if you are carrying hot water around 180 degrees, what do you expect will happen to the pipes? They will expand. So that's why also when you look at the house, if you go today and look at your hot water system and you see the pipe going through the wall, it's not stuck to anything. They have a big hole with at least half an inch around it, and they leave it wobbling. They might put something soft like fabric, and they want it to be moving. And that's what counts for the contraction and expansion. So look at that. And sometimes you see the support is not even holding. If you look at those pipes outside here, like in the class, if you look at the support, it's not stuck to the pipe. It's just loose. So the pipe can swing and expand at its own comfort whenever it needs. Any questions? Yeah.
How do you determine the pitch? Like, what does it depend on? Like, is it
It
how
depends on
much
the
water?
system and how much, if it's a steam system, usually around 10 degrees, and also the manufacturer. If you work with companies that install steam, they'll tell you what pitch they need. So usually it's 10 degrees. It's not that visible, but you go there and probably they have a special level for the pitch. So what is diameter and radius? Is this the diameter or the radius?
Diameter is across the entire thing, and the radius is from the center.
Radius is this distance here. From here to here. So radius equal diameter over 2. Make sense? So let's not confuse radius and diameter. What is ductility? Somebody? So ductile material are brittle, which means they're easy to break. So glass, ceramics are very ductile. Opposite of that is malleable. So each metal, as we make it harder, we make it more prone to breakage. So let's think about your engine block, your car engine block. It's made of cast iron, right? Usually what happens to it if it overheats? Cracks. What does that mean? Is it tactile? Yes, it's very brittle, because it's really hard. I want it to be hard to take the pressure. However, that hardness makes it tactile. It's gonna break if you overheat it. So that's ductility. Elongation, what does that mean?
Stretch the sun.
Something becoming longer. So it does elongate, elasticity. Deformation, how easy this material deform. If I kick the pipe, is it gonna deform? If I step on it, it's going to deform. Most brass pipes or copper pipes are very easy to deform. That's why you do wanna bury them without sheathing. And sometimes you put them into another pipe to bury them. And also, you wanna put them in the ground because they stepped on and eventually it will kink. If you look at the pipes in the shop, probably you see some of them are really bent. We talked about erosion and corrosion, plumbing and HVAC, heating pipes and radiators. So if we look at the radiator here, you'll see the pipe inside is 3/4 of an inch, and it's copper. Back in the days, they used to save money, and they still do, by doing the connection all the way from the basement to the bedroom in galvanized steel. They connect the galvanized steel to the copper radiator. Why? Why? That's one. What else? We love copper. What's the problem with copper?
Save money.
Save money. It's expensive. Copper pipe is expensive. So it's cheaper for you to run things in galvanized steel because it's cheaper. The other reason, which is stronger? Copper or steel? Steel. So you want something that will take a lot of beating, will be easier, you don't have to worry about it, and leave the softer side in the radiator. So steel is stronger, it's cheaper. Nowadays they use something called PEX. PEX is the new thing. I'm not a believer in PEX, but it's the new thing in the field now. Everybody's doing PEX. PEX is like hoses. It's nylon polymer, which they connect all the way from the basement to the radiator. I'm not a big believer in PEX because they're new and they have issues of elongation and they sag and it just looks very cheap. Until like at least runs 10 or 15 years of experience, I don't believe in that. I think it's a cheaper cut to do the heating system, but they're very common. And they're getting better and better, and they have connections with special connection with steel and special connection with pipe. So PEX is mainly a hose.
Or isn't it easier than having to solder pipe at?
It is, but,
angles?
Again, if you expect this system to last 40 or 50 years, how long is it going to last? I mean, these things, I live in a house that's 100 years old, and it's still the same piping. That's impressive. Like, what is the longevity of the house? Like, you want to build a house that at least last 100 years, at least. If it's 10, 15 years, yeah, I'll put some PEX, I'll put some really cheap stuff and just move on. But, yeah, I'm not really a big believer until I see some data, and some people actually did get issues with PEX. Sagging, leaking, deteriorating, connection goes bad, so on and so forth. And I don't think any company gives you lifetime warranty on PEX. If they do that, that would be great. But again, we'll talk about it in another class. Water connections. We use that for plumbing for water connections. You have to connect from the municipal water to your boiler, so you have to do that. So you gotta do some few connections here and there. Steam system. If you work with steam system, probably you will have to have piping coming into the system and out, and it's going to be steel. And you might have to do small cuts. And also for drainage, if you install a condensing boiler, you'll have to install your own drainage. What other pipes that are there that cannot take heat, but they're very cheap and they get really common? PVC. PVC is great. The only problem with PVC is two things. One thing, it cannot take a lot of heat, especially the old ones. The new ones are rated for heat. And the second thing is what? They have issues with UV. They're not to be installed outside. Ultraviolet will cook it over time. Otherwise, they're very cheap, they're very convenient, they're very clean, they don't have any corrosion whatsoever, lightweight. But again, you have to bear in mind those two things. Now they have PVC that is rated for hot water. If you're doing condensing boiler, probably you can do the vent with PVC and also the drain with PVC because all the heat is absorbed from the system. Pipe connections. So we have threads. We connect steel pipes using threads. Why? Because it's heavy and the pipe is thick enough for us to cut through it and make a thread that is reliable. Again, I'm condensing a whole profession into one class, so I'm just giving you some kind of hints on what to expect and know some terminology. We're not going to do a lot of plumbing, but at least you have an idea. Again, to become a certified plumber, you have to go and get 5,000 hours of experience. So there are different kind of threads. We'll do some threads from the outside. Usually from the inside is the thread for the connection, for the elbows. And you can also do threads from the inside using tabs. Is that what they're called? Yeah,
Yeah.
tabs. You can do tabs and do your inside threads. Did anybody ever strip a nut in a car or a screw? And you have to drill through it and tab and make a thread. You put another screw.
Helix oil.
Huh?
Easier to put helix oil.
Yeah. So we all do it outside for our purposes. Most fittings are pre-threaded, so that's the fitting. So in the inside, if you look, there's a thread. The thread usually is universal for that size pipe, so it does not change. Somebody made their research and they thought this is the best pitch for the thread. If you look at the thread, and it's kind of helical. And what holds the thread together? What do you think?
Keeps it grounded.
Yeah.
Surface tension.
The bolt, you twist
Yeah.
the bolt, torque it a certain amount, and then the twist on the bolt.
Yeah. So what do you think? What kind of force you think is keeping this two threads stuck together? There is no glue,
No.
Pressure.
huh?
It's pressure because of the taper.
Okay. It's not friction. Friction will gonna work against you, right? It's not friction. What do you think it is? It's the amount of elongation in the pipe that you're stretching out a little bit in a microscopic level that keep it holding together. That's why you cannot, it's not really advisable to have threads on very ductile pipes. Like you do not want to thread, for example, brass. You don't want to thread sometimes some steel pipes. If you thread through them and you torque it a little bit more than necessary, you break the tension. So you have few forces acting on this thread. So you're twisting it, so there's force acting this way. I'm not going to go too much into it, but let's imagine there's a force in this direction, and this direction. So somebody calculated this angle to be the right force that will keep the elongation of the pipe in place. And if you're probably twisting something with iron, you can feel like there's some kind of a little bit of leeway. That's what you're counting on. The pressure between the two surfaces to be the same. If you pitch the pipe way a little bit more than you need to, what will happen? Over time, it will get loose. Yeah,
Are you supposed to use like a pipe sealant too?
yeah.
After like you put it on and then
Yeah.
you screw it together
Yeah.
and it seals it?
But the sealant has nothing to do with holding the pipe together. The sealant just for leaks, unless you're doing PVC. So the sealant has nothing to do with keeping the pipes together. And that's why also you want to avoid over torquing. What will happen if you over torque something? It snaps. You strip it, it snaps, there's force required for that. Who used a torque wrench before? You always have to use torque wrench. If you work with condensing boilers or industrial boilers, probably you'll have to use a torque wrench. If you work in your car, even with spark plugs, you will need to use a torque wrench. Yeah.
How do you know if you're twisting with the sealant?
Good question. Usually you read the manual, how much torque is required. And sometimes there's something hand tight. Is that what it says? Hand tight?
Actually have the pressure.
Hand pressure. If you exceed your hand pressure, probably you ruined it. And they'll tell you do not use too much pressure. If something is very soft, they'll tell you use a torque wrench. Anything with the engine, because we said the engine is very ductile, you have to use a torque wrench. Otherwise, you are stripping it and you put too much force, and at some point, the engine will overheat and something will come out. Have anybody had a spark plug fire on them?
Fords,
Yeah.
classic Triton V8.
Yeah. One day you'll be driving on your own business and boom, a spark plug flies out because it was either under torqued or over torqued. Pitch and angle applied. We're not gonna talk too much. You know what the idea. The angle over here. What do I need? Microscopically. I know I'm throwing a lot of information, but it's all useful if you just know what it means. And kind of ballpark it with. 5 threads. Again, if you go to do your own threading, tapping, you want to make sure you have the right pitch. Otherwise, you might put the connection on the pipe and nothing happens. It's not clicking. These are the most of the common angles and the pipe thread size for 1 inch. And of course, every one of those sizes has its own pitch, because you would imagine like the bigger the pipe, you cannot stick with the same pitch. So changing the pipe will also change the pitch. For us, we're gonna do mostly either from 1 inch, from half an inch to at least 3 inches. So it's not going to be that different, and we're going to use only water, pipes, and steel. So it's not going to be that involved. Okay. So this is our pipe cutting area. This is what the power tool we used to use. However, we're not gonna use it now, but I'll show you how it works because it's very old and it's unsafe. It's not the standard anymore. We bought a new one last year. So what I need you to do is a grip vise, secure the pipe. We'll do a cut, and I'll show you how. I'll do a cut, ream, and Kurt, what is reaming?
It's precision in the middle to bring it to size.
Okay, it's also scribbing the edges of the inside pipe. There's a tool called reamer. It scribs the inside. What is that? What is the purpose of this?
Brings it into tolerance.
That's one thing, but it's not usually the case. Reaming help the flow and also cut out the sharp edge that might use accumulation. So when you cut a pipe, it's this is the pipe we just cut. This is the inside. Imagine this is the pipe, okay? Freshly cut. And you're going to connect with another pipe over here. Reaming will scrape off this area. So you go there with the reamer, which looks like a cone, and you twist it and scrape off that area. Don't go too hard on it because you might make the pipe thin, but you want to smooth that surface so the water will go and not accumulate. If we do not scrape that area, keep it this way, you'll have more resistance and you'll have some accumulation in here. And eventually that's it's gonna affect your flow. It's not gonna be as smooth. You're gonna have some turbulence, you're gonna have some bubbles, and it's not a good practice. Again, using the right lubricant for the pipe cutting is important. Each pipe has its own cutting solution. And these things is better to show you than just tell you, so I'll show you how it's done. One thing, what happens when you cut the pipe?
It's hot.
It gets hot. Thank you. It gets hot, and that's why you need the oil. Oil will reduce friction. If I rub my hands together, they get hot, so friction causes heat. And imagine you're cutting through pipe. You're putting a lot of force, so the pipe is going to be really hot. Oil, you'll see the oil smoke. This is how hot the pipe gets when you cut it. Also, all those bits and reamers are very, very sharp, so do not touch them. They will cut through your flesh very quickly. And this machine is brand new, so it's still very, very sharp. Once it becomes dull, you have to change it, otherwise you're not going to get the right cut, and it's going to be very frustrating. This is the new machine that we have. This machine is self-lubricating, which means it has oil in it and it has some channels, and the oil will keep flushing through it as we cut, so that's really convenient. And it has a reamer. You stick in the pipe here, you secure the pipe, and I'll show you how it works. First is the cutter. You put the cutter on and you tighten it until it cuts. Then use the reamer to ream the pipe, and eventually we'll do the thread.
So it's
And-
just like a big electric pipe cutter.
Yeah, and we'll make a video of me cutting the pipe so you can watch it again and see how it works. And I will have the people with experience do it first, so you can watch it over and over again. I'm gonna have you guys line up and do it one by one, so if you feel less confident, watch all the other ones do it, and you're gonna accumulate experience, and it's really fun once you get the hang of it, it's really, really fun. There is a video on YouTube if you wanna learn about the machine, but we don't have to do that. We use the thread bit holder. I'll show what it looks like. Grip vise. We need thick gloves, and I want 2 people with you to help you out. So if we can work in pair, that will be nice. I have Pierre and I have Daniel with me to help me out, so I will do it together. Lab coats, long sleeves, goggles, please. More entertaining videos about elbows if you're watching on your own time. And that's it. Thank you.